So what we're going to talk about right now is called eighth notes. So what an eighth note is, if you'll remember back to the chart we just saw, is in the place of one of those ticks, you're going to actually be placing two notes. Okay? So the trick to this is just being able to actually visualize what's happening in terms of that. So we're going to set up our metronome, and I'm going to start by explaining this by doing the same thing we did for quarter notes, which is simply just tap your hand on your leg. Just a nice, easy little thing. And that's a quarter note, all right? So what an eighth note actually is if you think about, turn that off, if you think about your hand tapping, how many directions is your hand actually moving? And if your answer is more than two, you were wrong. So your hand is moving two ways. It's moving down and it's moving up, okay? So as long as your hand is hitting the tick every time that it ticks, the up part of your hand, or the highest point of your hand, will be where you place the second note for the eighth note. So here's an easier way to explain it. Here's my metronome. I'm tapping my hand right on that tick. What you're going to do is you're going to call that 1. 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, and so on and so forth. Now what you're going to do is you're going to call your up part of your hand 2. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. Okay? Or if we flip that over now and call it traditionally what it's called, that was the part of the written form that was called and, the part that I was calling 2. So let's hear what that sounds like. So here's your quarter note. The up part is called and. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. Okay? Now people are always getting this mixed up and backwards, and they don't know where to put it, and it's as you can see, a fairly simple thing, but it doesn't have to be insanely difficult if you just think of it as really a quarter note with a partner in crime to it. Okay? So let's learn how to execute that now onto the guitar. The reason, if you'll remember back to the alternate picking section for the G major scale, also we started talking about some down-up patterns, like for just kind of picking through our guitar. We're going to make the connection between that right now. One of the most important things that you could do to help your rhythm is to be able to tap your foot to anything that you play. You can, bob your head, you can move your entire body, it really doesn't matter. But what we're going to do is we're going to equate our foot tap, or in this case our hand tap so that you can see it, with the direction our pick is moving. So when our foot hits the ground with the metronome, our pick hits the string at exactly that same moment. When your foot comes up, you want to pick up at exactly that same moment. So you want to almost pretend like there's a string attached to your leg and your hand. It's kind of silly, but it's really going to help out a lot. And then what you do is try to apply that to the guitar. So before we do that with a metronome, we're going to try that with just moving our bodies. So I'm going to apply it right now to just the G major chord again. And what we're going to be doing is we're going to be strumming across that, and you're going to want to move your body in sync with your hand. So when your head, I'll be using my head for this part, when your head comes down, your pick comes down. When your head comes up, your pick comes up. So what you want to do is try to set yourself a nice, easy pace, and just visualize your body moving down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, and just tie them together. Down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up. 1, 2, 1, 2. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. There's a string attached to my pick and my whole body. You want to just connect yourself to what's actually happening there. Down, up, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, and 2, and 3, and 4, and 1, and 2, and 3, and 4, and Okay? They're robotic and straight and stiff. So that's the way you're going to want to approach that. Okay? So the next portion of this, I'm going to take it through a couple of chord progressions, and let's see what that sounds like.